Like basketball, Tractor Supply knows that a winning season takes practice, teamwork, and a can-do attitude. It's Bracket Challenge season, and Fox Sports Radio's Bracket Challenge is live right now. Be sure to complete your bracket at foxsportsradio.com right now. The winning bracket in the Fox Sports Radio Bracket Challenge will win a $2,500 gift card to Tractor Supply. A perfect bracket will win you $1 million. A perfect bracket will win you $1 million. Fill out your bracket now until Thursday morning before the bracket games begin. Visit foxsportsradio.com to register. Get rules and fill out your bracket. It's all sponsored by Tractor Supply for life out here. I think what's fascinating about this is the statement made by the selection committee that I don't know what's been discussed because I also didn't watch all the talkie talk shows, which goes completely in line with what I said about college football and what college football's bracket didn't do. If you remember, I was the one saying, hey, Alabama should be in the college football playoff. Hey, Ole Miss should be in the college football playoff. Hey, I'm not sure LSU shouldn't be in the college football playoff. And people have gone like, well, look at how the SEC did. Like, okay, would they have been better than Indiana and SMU and Boise State? Of course they would have been. Do you know why? Because they have and spend more money on their players, on their coaches, on everything, and they have an overall better product. They have an overall better product. Like, look, we're all looking for deals. I've told you guys this before. I am not shy about it. It doesn't matter if I shop high-end at Aloe or Viore or Lululemon, right? You click on Lululemon's website, and what's the second click I always do? There's one that says, we've made too much. Why? I don't care if it's out of style. It's like, I'm not I care about style. I just want something that's really comfortable and, you know, kind of that yoga-y fit. And, yeah, I think it's overpriced, so I want to get it at like 30% off. Correct? Okay, so we're all that way. We all like, oh, man, there's a rebate on 2024 vehicles. Granted, 2024 vehicles, the second you drive it off the lot, they always decrease in value. They plummet in value when it's a year older model, right? But we're all looking for a deal. We all think that everything's overpriced and we're probably right. But the other part to it is they have better players. And maybe not better players, they have more really, really good ones because the money is spread out over all of them. It doesn't mean that on a given day, UC San Diego, that's probably spent, I would say, $150,000 to $200,000 on their roster. Right? They have a lot of Division II players. They've done an amazing job of building that program that elevated from, 20 whatever years ago. They were Division II national champions not long ago. Anyway, to being a top team in the Big West, which there are $1 million teams in the Big West. Right? But regardless of which, it doesn't mean they can't beat Michigan. Okay? And Michigan's payroll is probably $3 million. But if they play 20 times, Michigan's going to beat them 18. Do you know why? Because Michigan has better players. They're bigger at every position. They're bigger and more skilled. Okay? And their coach, Dusty May, has been at the lower level at Florida Atlantic and built it over time. And he's really, really good. It doesn't mean that what Eric and those guys at UC San Diego hasn't done. But the point is that the selection committee got it right from this standpoint. We can bitch and moan about how it looks optically to have 14 SEC teams. Right? And Oklahoma and Texas, two of the bottom teams SEC. Oklahoma, I'd say their payroll is probably $1.5 million to $2 million, which is, again, bottom end of the SEC. But that league is a gauntlet because they've spent more money on coaches, more money on facilities, more money on training, and more money on players. They have overall the better teams. Now we can pick and choose which one we want and which team should be in. And is it silly that North Carolina is in and West Virginia is not? West Virginia spends a lot of money. They have a huge NIL budget, probably greater than even the North Carolina. Okay, and I think that it's a joke. Of course, West Virginia belongs in the NCAA tournament, and I'll get to why they're not very, very shortly. Right? But the point is that the selection committee got it right where the college football committee got it wrong. Is that selection committee didn't try and win people over and do things that we'd all called for to be the right way to do it. Right? Remember, in college football, Boise State got a bye. Why? Because they built this insane model where you had to be a conference champion and win your conference championship game in order to get a bye. So for 20 years, people always wanted Hawaii 1 year, Cincinnati 1 year, Boise 1 year, in a BCS or a big bowl game or even in the college football playoff. And they went from that to putting them as a top 4 seed, which was a joke, right? Indiana was in and SMU was in. Why? Because, they wanted to be fair. F being fair. If the goal of the college football playoff, much like the goal of the NCAA tournament, is to find the best teams, college basketball got it right, college football got it wrong. College basketball got it right. And it doesn't mean that spending the most money always gives you the best team. There can be chemistry issues. There's something going on at Kansas because they spent a ton of money in that team. Their point guard won a national championship. Their center's like a 6-year center. Their coach is a Hall of Fame coach. He's amazing, right? They went out and got Wisconsin's best player from last year, and he barely plays, right? And I think they'll be okay. They'll win some games here in March. But the point is that spending money isn't the end-all, be-all. But when the whole conference spends 2 to 3x of what most conferences spend on their players, you're going to have a better product. You're going to have a better product. It's like a Ferrari or a Porsche, right? These cars that are handmade, right? They're going to be, will occasionally you get something that's faulty? Of course. It's not, there's no perfect. But by and large, when you use better things and you make it by hand and you spend more time and you spend more money in terms of your overall investment in each car you make, in each piece of clothing you make, can you buy a suit off the rack and it's fine? Sure, it might fit you great, but a tailor-made suit, it costs more. Why? Because somebody has to spend expert detail in making sure it's just right for you. And that suit is always going to be better than the off-the-rack one, which that's all we're doing here. All right, here's the other thing that you found yesterday. Those last couple games don't matter, but they do matter. And you're like, whoa, that's a contradictory statement. It is. It doesn't matter how silly is it that Wisconsin is a 3 seed, Michigan's a 5 seed. And it's not like you can't give me they did it because they wanted Wisconsin to play in Milwaukee. They're not. They played each other on a Sunday. They're in the same league. They're somewhere in the neighborhood of the same seed line. And all you have to do is hey, if Wisconsin wins, let's put them as the 3. If Michigan wins, we put them at the 3, right? Wouldn't that be simple? Okay, but they didn't really pay attention to the outcome on Sunday. That's pretty obvious. On the other hand, they were watching. How do I know? North Carolina got in and West Virginia did not. And here's the key elements of it. Right? Everybody's caught up on the numbers. They only had 1 win versus the net, what is it? Quadrant 1 net wins or whatever, right? As opposed to West Virginia that had a clearly better resume. And then poor Bubba Cunningham, and just for full disclosure, Bubba was the AD at Tulsa. Bubba's the AD at Carolina. Bubba's a great dude. And while I laughed on social media about him not being in the room for North Carolina, the fact is he's not in the room, and it's kind of an impossible answer for him to have. Why? I've actually done the selection process. Okay? And people say, well, it's about this number, it's about that number. Bull. Do you know what it's about? It's about whatever you want it to be about. They have all the people in the committee, and then you vote, and it cuts it down, and then you have all the people in the committee, and then you vote. And you vote by yourself. You can use whatever stat you want, whatever thing you want. And if you're sitting there and you're trying to figure out, and you watch West Virginia lose to Colorado, Tad Bull is a tremendous coach. I think he's the most successful coach Colorado's ever had. But they were bad this year, right? They had a one and done last year. They lost a bunch of players. I don't think they have a bunch of NIL. Everything's invested into football. They were bad. And so when you get together to meet, and West Virginia was on the list of probably in, and then you watch them lose to Colorado, and then you watch North Carolina give away a game to Duke, and Duke is your number 1 overall seed. Granted, Cooper Flagg didn't play, okay? But they have a lane violation. Otherwise, if he makes the second free throw, they at least go to overtime. So, again, we can say it's about numbers, but it's not. It's about what you've seen last. What you see first and what you see last. And think about that indelible impression of you're getting ready to vote, and at the end of the day, you can use whatever number, whatever scale. There is no hard and fast rules of what you have to vote for. They give the members of the committee all of these different matrices, matrices, right? Can I get a thumb up?
I would just say metrics, but I don't know if maybe I'm wrong.
Jay Stu?
Metrics, yep.
Not matrices?
Yeah, I think it's just metri.
Okay, metri? They give them all. No, metri would be singular or plural.
Matrices, yeah, you're
matrices.
Right. Matrices, yeah.
Not matrices?
Well, it's a matrix.
No, it's not a
metrics.
matrix.
You're right.
Somebody help us out that knows more. Anyway, they give them all of these kind of guides with metrics that you can use to explain away who and why you picked, who and why you picked.
Metrics is the plural. It's metric, and then it's metrics.
They give them all these metrics
Yeah.
that you can use as a guide to pick who you want to pick. But you can pick whoever you want to pick. And I think most people, most human beings, are sitting there going, well, I just saw Carolina lose by a point to Duke, and I think Duke's awesome. And a couple days ago, I saw West Virginia lose to Colorado, and I think Colorado stinks. So, North Carolina. It really is that simple. Like, we want to make it about, well, it's the ACC. It's about North Carolina. It's about, I think it's really as simple as you watch a team on a Thursday in an empty gym at the Big 12 tournament that you'd like to see win a game, and they lose to Colorado. And then 2 days later, you're watching Duke, Carolina, hard-fought game, and Carolina kind of found a way to spit up all over themselves, but lose a really close game. And you're like, yeah, that one looks like an NCAA tournament team. The other one does not. I think that's the reality of what happened. I think that's actually kind of what happened there. I mean, that's, again, my opinion, but I've also been a part of it. Been a big part. It's Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio.
And Doug, the silly thing about Michigan and Wisconsin is Michigan actually finished in tie for second. Wisconsin finished in tie for third, and Michigan won the conference tournament. So I don't get the seeding there at all.
Well, again, that's when they go back to non-conference stuff or whatever.
Wisconsin finished the season a little hotter. Michigan kind of lost a few games there down the stretch.
Wisconsin lost to Penn State at home.
Yeah,
on
that is true.
Day.
Michigan also beat Wisconsin in the regular season.
Yeah. So I don't get that.
I don't either. I don't get it either. I really don't.